Hello, principals and bookkeepers. Thanks for viewing our annual Title I meeting. We want to provide you with some valuable information as you are paving the road to success. Your best plan begins now. Harry County Schools Board of Education has set the compass that guides us in the future for our work. The work that we do in Title I aligns to all the core beliefs, all the core policies. However, I would like to highlight the tightly and closely alignment to core beliefs 1 and 2, which are each student can learn at or above grade level and will have an equal opportunity to do so. 2, family and community involvement is critical to student success. Core policy 1, 2, and 3, an aligned system of teaching and learning, a system of accountability, and a framework for continuous improvement, and strategic action number 3, community and stakeholder engagement so that all students, families, and employees feel welcome and valued. We all want all of our students to be able to have all the priority outcomes. I would like to introduce you to our dynamic team. Our team work hard to ensure that the Title I program is up and thriving and that we can meet your needs so that you can meet the need of every student. My name is Arthur Blevins. I'm the Director of Federal Programs. We are led by Ms. Latrina Coxton. She is our Executive Director of Special Services and Educational Support, and our Chief Officer of Family and Student Support Services is Mr. Antonio Mattox. The Title I support staff, we have Tiffany Tucker. She's the administrative assistant. Melissa Atkins and Ulysses Smallwood, they are the school improvement specialists. We have a budget and program facilitator. Our budget facilitator is Ms. Keisha Hendricks. Our program facilitator is Mercedes Worthy, and our two instructional lead teacher are Dr. Katie Breelove. She is our math lead teacher, and then we have Dr. Lakeisha Jett, who is our literacy instruction lead. We have, last but not least, and also awesome and very knowledgeable and always willing to step in to help. I call her Stay Ready to Be Ready, Miss Kimberly Howard, our parent and family engagement specialist. In all that we do like to adhere to these meeting norms. We like to have meaningful and relevant content, and I hope that you will find today's information very meaningful and relevant. We do have a confidential zone. We always assume goodwill and be open to diverse views. We ensure to be present, fully engaged in the learning on task, tech, and begin and end on time. And when you have a sigh, let's get back to the why. The purpose of Title I, and I definitely want to draw attention to the underline and bold printed. According to the United States Department of Education, the purpose of Title I funding is to ensure that all children have a fair, equal, and significant opportunity to obtain a high quality education and reach at minimal proficiency on challenging state academic achievement standards and state academic assessments. Also, the purpose is to focus on improving the academic achievement of low performing students in schools with a high concentration of poverty and is governed by statutory and regulatory requirements of Title I, Part 8 of ESSA. Our goals are our learning targets for today. By the end of this session, principal and bookkeepers will be able to understand the requirements of parent and family engagement, monitor the progress and status of the PFAIL program using the PFAIL binder, log and monitor expenditures using the budget binder, locate and complete Title I financial forms, develop a data-driven Title I budget aligned to the CSIP.
Hello, principals. Good morning or good afternoon, whatever time it is that you are watching this presentation. I am so excited to present to you today. I'm Kimberly Howard, the Family Engagement Specialist for Title I schools. As you look at this picture on your screen, what do you see? As you reflect on it, how do we make an impact for success? It's called partnership. Partnering across departments, divisions, and teams, and partnering with our parents, families, and community. When we think about the tools we need to make our first plan our best plan, family engagement is part of that plan. And as you reflect on this picture, in relation to our second core belief, family and community involvement is critical to student success. We understand that without family engagement, our schools are off balance. It reminds me of that particle board three-leg table that was so popular in the 90s. Everyone had one in their home. And if you didn't have that third leg, it just would not work. It would not balance and was good for nothing. And while our schools may not fail, they are likely much more successful with healthy, effective, and engaging parent and family partnerships than without them. It requires all of us working together. And how we make that impact is how we implement our family engagement programs. Now, what you have on your screen are our parent and family engagement impact strategies. And these strategies are aligned with our state and federal parent and family engagement requirements. IMPACT stands for inform, maximize, prepare, assist, communicate, and tailor. When you are informing families, examples include your annual Title I parent meeting, your curriculum nights, your GMAS assessment workshops, those types of things that you hold at your school for parents and families qualifies under informing them of their progress, their child's progress and achievement. When we are using our maximize strategy, these also include our curriculum nights, but also our other parent workshops throughout the year, such as technology training, or our parent workshops based on content areas and school goals. Prepare refers to our building staff capacity, which is a major requirement for family engagement. It is that dual capacity, building parent capacity and staff capacity to effectively engage with those parents. And it's very important this year, principals, as we go into FY25, to make sure that we are meeting the requirements for building staff capacity. It is very specific and is not about what's going on in the classroom or helping teachers to manage their classroom and help build student achievement, but it's about how we train staff to effectively engage with the parents of those students. And during your pre-planning this year, I want to encourage you to go ahead and facilitate and implement that strategy right in during pre-planning and during your faculty meetings. And I will be available to give you any support that you need, along with your FEL, if you have one, to make sure that that is implemented effectively as well as in compliance. The A is for assist. How are we supporting our parents and families with successful school transitions? And this is a requirement, principals, that is expected to be facilitated and implemented throughout the school year, not just in the spring. But your FEL will be given those details in their professional learning. And so I hope that you will consult with them throughout the year on strategies for how we will successfully support our parents with those major transitions from pre-K to kindergarten, from fifth grade to sixth grade, and from middle school to high school. But in addition, we've received family input that some parents also need additional support for those transitions from second to third grade. So I encourage you, when you come back and you are looking at all of your data, look at your family engagement data to see what parents have said, to know how you can serve them better in FY25. And then to communicate, this is all about making sure that all of our parents are effectively engaged with their child's education, because we're communicating with them in the ways that they need, whether it be language or format or frequency or time. We want to make sure that we are communicating with our families in multiple ways, multiple languages and formats, in languages and formats that they can understand. That should be reflected in your parent input data as well. And then lastly, tailoring that support. Now, remember, any needs that you use under tailoring support needs to be in your plan as well. But this comes down to analyzing your school performance data to identify those achievement gaps. It's providing opportunities for parents to request additional support and offer feedback on the improvement of your family engagement programs. And it's also related to implementing a supplemental evidence-based program that's been proven to impact student achievement by addressing school-wide needs such as improving school safety, school climate, enhancing school climate, or building career academies. Yes, you can implement these things and facilitate these things under family engagement as long as it is in your plan and your data supports it. That's where we get to tailor the support for our families, for our parents, and our students under that strategy. So we look forward to working with you and your FEL or your designee to ensure that all schools will be compliant and follow all of the compliance, as well as building your programs with that commitment to make real change and impact for family engagement during the FY25 school year. And why is that important, principals? Because we are getting closer to that next monitoring cycle. So it's going to be very important that we document everything that we are doing in family engagement, because it is part of Title I, Part A law. And as we get closer to that cycle, they may reach back to FY25 to pull documentation for your school. What you are seeing now is just an example of our master parent family engagement binder for the upcoming school year. And there have been a few updates. So I just want to focus on just a few for you today. And then, of course, I will be here to support you or answer any questions, as well as your FEL will be updated in their professional learning. What you notice right away, I'm sure, is that red. Of course, in your FY24 binder, your current binder, red meant overdue, and it still does. However, it depended on us manually going in to change that status to overdue when we went into review and there were no files submitted as of that date. However, with the new binder, it will automatically change the entire cell to red when the documentation that is due on that date has not been submitted. So it's an indicator and a signal to all of the stakeholders involved that that documentation has not been submitted. So principals, we hope that you will support us here with ensuring that your family engagement program stays on target and monitoring your family engagement binder, especially for these cells that turn red when the upload dates have passed. So we can all work together to have your documentation reviewed in a timely and consistent manner. Another change you might notice is that red box at the top of the page. We want to also make sure that your documentation is in on time, because if not, if it is overdue, it may impact your purchases out of 2100. Those purchases may be delayed, possibly denied, based on the status of your parent and family engagement binder. So we want to make sure that you receive all of the materials and purchases that you have requested and not have it be because your binder is overdue. Another change that we have made for this year are your input meeting bookends. So we will have fall input and spring input in the same binder, and both tabs will be considered in the completion rate for your school. As we know, the year starts with parent input and it also ends with parent input. So we're going to have those both in your binder for the year as bookends in your tabs. And finally, principals, we have added a new tab for FY25, and that is the calendar. Your building parent capacity calendar is now going to feed to our toolkit online for the entire district or those who have access. We have been asked several times throughout the year by other interested parties or other stakeholders or administrative teams for what is going on in family engagement at our Title I schools. In this way, when your FAIL or your designee enters the event, the date, the time, it will populate onto our page, and that information will be available to all of our stakeholders. And that way we can better support you and parents and families and others in the district will know when you're having those family engagement events, so we can be there to support you, and so parents will know what's going on in our district and at our schools, especially when they have students or children at multiple schools within a cluster. So principals, after you have reviewed your binders, your current binder for the FY24 year, for your year-end status, I want you to think about what improvements and changes may need to be made. What can you glean from the data from your FY24 binder that you can use to make those impactful changes and improvements in FY25? And Mrs. Atkins will describe and discuss a tool later that will assist you. I am available for office hours on Wednesday, July 10th, between 9 and noon, along with the rest of our staff, if you have any questions, and I thank you for your attention today.
Hello, principals and bookkeepers. My name is Keisha Hendricks, and I am your budget facilitator. I want you to take a close look at this slide. It contains important information about your role as a bookkeeper and outlines additional details. As I often say, you are the heartbeat of your school. The school cannot operate properly without you. Your work is very critical. Bookkeeping is the foundation of your work, requiring attention to detail, organization, excellent communication, time management, data entry, discipline, and commitment. Your efforts lay the groundwork for success with both internal and our external stakeholders. Embrace your position and the responsibility that comes with it. I know it's a lot. I know it can be overwhelming, but I have seen you all get it done. There has been a lot of hustle and bustle this year, especially with the new ERP system that was implemented the beginning of February, making things particularly challenging for us. I understand the difficulties that we are facing. Despite being tremendously busy, I want to thank the bookkeepers who have met the required deadlines. I really thank you. I really appreciate you. I know as a bookkeeper, you're being pulled in other directions as well. And on top of that, this new ERP system have been very challenging. One of the easiest things to do with it is the requisitions, but I know on the school-based side, you guys have really been having a challenge. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all your hard work and for your hard work. This, what you see here, is the chart of accounts. Most of you already are familiar with it. And those who are not, I just want to explain briefly. The chart of accounts is your sidekick. It helps you to determine which account number to use when making a purchase. When you open the chart of accounts, you'll see it's organized by function code and object codes. To use it, find the appropriate function code and then the object code. The descriptions will be detailed for you to help figure out which item should come from which line, which account. Please note, you cannot use the account for grocery store purchases, okay? Any of your accounts, you cannot use them to go to the grocery store. Additionally, to order snacks, I know some of you may have the 2100 account, but your family engagement liaison must ensure that your school's parent and family engagement binder is up to date before we are able to order snacks from that account. So please do not just send us a requisition with snacks. Make sure you check her binder to make sure that she or he is up to date on those items. I also want to mention, I call the chart of accounts your sidekick because it's kind of your second to go to, because your first go-to is going to be your budget binder. In your budget binder, you will have all those things listed out at a budget at a glance of what is expected to be ordered from those account lines. Now what you see is the forms that you would need to be successful as a Title I bookkeeper. The amendment form is your form that you're going to use to transfer funds from one account line to another. The only way that we can do that, it must be function to function. We do not like to do cross function, and that is only done in very what am I trying to say? I'm sorry. On circumstances only. Those will be approved by circumstances, and it has to be something that is important. But for the most part, we like to do a function to function amendment. Remember, all of your Title I forms must be filled out by typing. You cannot handwrite any of your Title I forms. You must type them up. I ask that you provide all the information that the form is asking for. And I also ask that you put an explanation in there why you are actually transferring these forms. All right. And another thing, the account number, it must be the full account number, and it needs to be the new account number that includes the new facility numbers and the new cost center numbers. Those are the numbers that we need there, all right? Your next form is your DJE 200 form. Again, it must be typed up. One of the things that I do want to touch on with this form is that sometimes what is missing is the exceptions. A lot of times I don't see that the principal or the bookkeeper have selected which one fit with the purchase that they're trying to make. And another thing that I see missing is that toward the bottom of that second sheet, there's like 3 or 4 questions there that, you know, may ask, are the funds available? Is it over $100,000? And there's some other questions there. All of that must be completed, okay? You must check whichever one that fits the situation, but it all must be completed. The requester, the bookkeeper can sign as the requester, but we also need to make sure that the principal or the designee person signs as well. So I'm looking for 2 signatures on this sheet. The principal can do both, but I will still need 2 signatures on this DJE 200 form. And this form is only used when we have anything that is $5,000 and up, all right? This form will have to be attached to your requisition that you submit for approval as well. The next form that we have here is the vendor agreement or the working agreement. This form I actually linked in because it is not on our Title I toolkit. This form will be needed if you process anything. If you process anything with the 300 account, 1,300, 2213, 300, this form is needed. This form is needed when you're planning to do that. So it could be completed by the principal, the company, or the person that's going to be a contractor. And so that we can get it over to our legal department and have them approve it. And then we're able to move forward. We can't bypass this form. If you don't fill it out, it's going to delay the payment. And I've seen that happen this year, and we would like to be more proactive than, you know, going behind and trying to fix up things. So please, if you are planning to allocate any funds to any 2213, 300 account or 1,300, whatever it is, if the object code is 300, please go ahead, take this form and have it completed, email it back to me so I can move it forward in the process. And once everything has been completed, I will let you know that, hey, we are good to go, or you will get an email with legal on it saying what's needed or required for the form if it does not have everything that it needs. The next form here is our voucher pack cover sheet, okay? This sheet, you can find it on our Title I toolkit. This cover sheet, I should only get this once you have received all of your items that you have ordered. And once you have already sent this up to your accounts payable person to be paid off, okay? This sheet is self-explanatory as well. Everything that's on here, please fill it out. It is required. I just want to go over some of the content that's in here because a lot of times I'll see that you have checked off something, but it's not in the actual voucher pack. So I want to make sure that you have this voucher pack typed up and that you have the PO, the requisition, which will be the requisition that you get from Oracle now. We will no longer use the DJE 220 form, which is the old requisition that we used to use. Please do not attach that to your voucher pack, okay, when you're sending me an email, because then I'll have to send it back saying, okay, you don't have the required information in here. So please make sure you send this voucher pack cover sheet with the PO, with the requisition that's actually in Oracle, okay? And then your invoice, please make sure that your invoices add up to the correct amount. If you needed a DJE 200 form for this purchase, you're also going to attach that to this voucher pack as well. And you're going to need any quotes or cards that is required for your requisition. That will also need to be in this voucher pack. Again, make sure all forms are typed up, and make sure you're just taking your time when you're filling it out, and just type in the information that is actually asking you for, and make sure that your invoices are equal to the amount of the PO. All right. Next is our toolkit. If you do not know how to get to our toolkit, what you will do is start from your school homepage. You're going to click on employee, which is going to be on that right-hand side. Once you click on employee, you're going to scroll down to the bottom, and then you're going to click on Title I Toolkit, and then you're going to see the federal programs Title I Toolkit come up for you. One of the things that I did want to say is once you get there, you're going to click on more, which is over to the right-hand corner, and you're going to go down to forms. When you click on that, this is what's going to come up. So whatever forms that you need to be successful in Title I, you're going to be able to get them here. So let's click on accounts payable. Right. Okay. So here you see that you have your DJE 200 form, you have your amendment, and you have your voucher pack here. And like I stated before, the working agreement or vendor agreement is not on our toolkit, but I attached it, the link to it in this presentation, so you could click on it, download it, and save it. All right. Let's go to payroll as well on our Title I toolkit. There we go. Those are the forms that you're going to need for your payroll. We try to provide you with everything you need in one place. And so any type of forms you're going to need, just click on more, and you'll be able to get what's required for you to be successful with your Title I funds. Now we're going to talk about the new account codes for this year coming up, starting July 1st. Now, we put July 1st because we are expected to be up and running. However, if finance have not given us the go-ahead, then that means we will not be up and running. However, you will still use this same account code until September 30th. Because as a reminder, our grant runs from it ends September 30th. It starts October 1st. Please forgive me for that. So this will be the function code, the funds code, the 402 will be the fund code that we're going to use. And this 5 right here is going to be your year, which is going to be for 2025. So you're going to use this from July 1st through September 30th, 4025. So as we come up, soon as we're able to start, this is what you're going to use, 4025. We will no longer use 4024. 4024 is in the past. We will not use it. We will use 4025 moving forward. October 1st, you're going to start using a different fund code, which is 403 will be the fund that you will use. And then the year will be 5. Now, also let me say this, because this account strand is for payroll. If payroll is implemented in the new ERP system, this here also is going to change. So we will definitely keep you updated with, what's new or what's happening as we get the information, because we don't know exactly when that change will take place either. But if it has not, you're going to use this 4035 as your account code from October 1st through September 30th, 2025. The importance of, Alyssa? Oh, is that me? The importance of good record keeping. You want to make sure that you monitor your school expenditures. Again, we always say that the budget binder is only as good as you use it. If you don't submit the information in there, or if we don't submit it in there properly, we're not going to get a 100% reading as we should. So please try to make sure that once you see that I have added the requisition to your budget binder, and you see that you have processed it, please go ahead, submit the requisition number, and then submit the amount that you processed the requisition for in there. Best practices is to record the budget binder right after processing it in Oracle. So that's what I'm saying. Once you see that your item is approved and and it's going through, please go ahead and add the amount of that requisition in there, add your requisition number and your PO number.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Mercedes Worthy, your program facilitator, and I will be sharing some information that will help you to start your FY 24-25 school year off with great success as well. What you see is a representation of the school or the payroll calendar that all of you should have received already, listing the due dates that payroll is due to Title I payroll inbox for pre-approval. It also shows you the dates for that particular pay period and the pay date. And also the actual form that you receive will list the lunch and learn schedule as well. And this is where we provide you with additional support, offer you an opportunity to ask questions and assist you in any way that you would need so that your payroll is submitted without any issues. This is available if you did not receive it on the Title I Toolkit as well. And if you have issues finding it there, please feel free to reach out. These are payroll forms that you will work with on a monthly basis. This is the timesheet that needs to be completed in its entirety with the employee's information at the top, including the account that these funds will be paid from. So make sure that those numbers are accurate. Also, list the time that they start, the time that they end, and please total that time for each day. And it should round to the nearest quarter, either 0.25 for 15 minutes or 0.75 if it's 45 minutes. Be sure to round it up and not total in minutes. And if you're not quite sure how to do that, there is a calculator available through the finance toolkit that assists you with calculating those totals. Also, check your balances each month prior to submitting payroll to make sure that you have enough funds in that account to cover that payroll, because if there are no funds or not enough funds, that payroll cannot move forward for pre-approval nor for payment, which will require you to submit an amendment form, which is the additional form that you see on the screen, and this tells us to move funds and where to move the funds from, the amount to move, and the account to move it to. Also, you see additional payroll forms that need to be submitted. Your payroll upload form needs to accompany your payroll every single month. This needs to be typed. This will include everyone that you are paying with a timesheet for the month. If this is not submitted, then your payroll is going to halt until we receive that. Also, if you're paying someone from a previous pay period, you will need to submit a late submission form explaining why that payroll is late with all the required information that the form is asking for. If there is a need for any corrections with payroll, there is a payroll correction form. Again, if you do not have these forms, all three of these forms are available on the Finance Toolkit at the HCS webpage.
Thank you so much, Mercedes. My name is Melissa Atkins, and I am one of the Title I School Improvement Specialists, along with my colleague, Mr. Ulysses Smallwood. So we are going to talk to you at this point about reflecting on the year. We do understand that there is a lot of hard work that goes into having a successful school year and making the plan for that school year as well. So I wanted to take a moment to kind of reflect on the school year and just to, have a laugh, to provide you with a strategy that you can utilize moving forward. So I'm going to take a moment to play this video, and if you could, just follow along and do exactly what the video is asking you to do.
I want you to think about the last time you had a really good laugh. Same sea of blank faces I see from coast to coast. We're gonna do a little research because, boy, NACU's all about research and education. And so what we're gonna do here is, on the count of three, if you're physically able, I'll ask you to stand. If not, do this from a seated position. But on the count of three, stand, and then facing me, I want you to just take a deep breath. And then I want you to put the shape of a smile on your face. For the purpose of this research, this does not have to be a real smile, okay? I will give you one last set of instructions, and then you can sit down and groan loudly, and we will give you the reasons for this research. All right, count of three. 1, 2, 3, stand. Take a deep breath. Now put the shape of a smile on your face. And I need to see teeth. I don't care if they're yours, okay? Now, last set of instructions. Turn and make eye contact with the victim to your left or right. And now sit down, groaning loudly. This is great. This is great. All right, two things here. One, now everybody has a tool. If you had to leave right this minute, and please don't, but if you had to leave right now, you would have a tool. The next time you go back to work and you're sitting at your desk and you think, if one more person puts one more thing on my desk, I'm going to have to snatch them bald-headed. Now all you have to do is, facing your entryway, doorway, or hallway, sitting or standing, just do this. Because the next person to walk in and see you looking like this, they're going to know that now is not the time to bother you. You can play with your pain. You can be intentional. Doing little exercises. Here's another one that you may have known, you just forgot you knew it. Hold out your right thumb, forefinger about an inch apart. Close your left eye. Now find someone's head across the room. Bring your thumb and forefinger together and squish. They don't even know they were hit. Oh. It's amazing. It's amazing. I want you to think about the last time you had a really good laugh.
So again, I know that sometimes it doesn't feel like you have an opportunity to decompress. There is nothing to laugh or smile about, but I want you to just take that video. Again, it may seem like something extremely minute, but take a moment to pause, breathe, and reflect. And if nothing else that you got out of that, you do have a strategy that you can utilize. And I'm hoping that in you doing the whole hand up and squeezing, that I am not the person that you are thinking about when that is happening, or that some of your staff members are not going to look at you crazy when you have your breathing and smiling exercise going on. We just want, again, to take a moment to reflect and to let you know that we appreciate all the hard work that you all have done this year. And we know that without you, a lot of the things that have happened for our students that is good cannot happen. So we really appreciate all of the work that you do for us on a daily basis. We also have stress balls that we will be sending out to both the principal and the bookkeeper over the course of the summer and early next year, to make sure that you do have that to kind of be a stress relief as well. So let's get into it. As we think about making our plan for the upcoming school year, we want you to kind of just ponder some questions that we have for you to think about as you go through this planning process. In reflection, think about some of the purchases, things that you may have purchased, resources you may have bought, human capital, things that happened that you purchased last year that gave you the best bang for your buck. They were those things that if you had it to do it all over again, you would have done it years ago. Think about those things as you get ready to make your plan, so that you will be able to redo those things. Look at your data and kind of tweak some things to make those things fit in your plan for the upcoming school year. Just take a moment and reflect on those, your best buy from the previous school year. And on the flip side of that, we also want you to think about some of the obstacles, some of those roadblocks that you encountered, that you had the best laid plans. You were going to do collaborative planning every Saturday afternoon, and those things never happened. And you ended up having these funds left that now you have to move because you weren't able to do that. Think about the obstacles that would have stood in the way of getting your plan off kilter a little, so that when you do plan for next year, your plan can be solid. So take a moment to kind of reflect on your plan and some of those things that did not go as you planned. Next, data. Everything that we do must be driven by data. How did you use your data in your budget planning process? Did you look at any perception data from your family engagement to drive providing training for your family engagement liaison? Did you look at any of the data from your professional development to see that maybe your instructional lead teacher could be used more effectively? Think about those data-driven instructions that you made last year, and again, make them something plausible for you to utilize for your upcoming school planning process, because now is the time for those different things. And again, we should not make any decisions as it relates to that next year's plan without having sufficient data sources to support. And then finally, I want to talk to the first year principals and bookkeepers. You made it through that first year and you're still standing. So we applaud you for that. But now we want you to think about what questions you have in hindsight. How could you do things a little better or differently? And then as a seasoned principal, think about what you think those individuals would need to know. Like, think about your first year and how you've grown over the years. And if you knew then what you know now, what would you do differently? Just jot those things down as a means of thinking about how you need support or how you can be of support to someone else in your job alike. So now we're going to move on to our session targets. In the upcoming session, we're going to give you the purpose of the budget binder. We're going to talk about the current FY budget binder. And then we're going to explore the investment opportunities, the budget stems, and the chart of accounts for the FY25 binder. So here we are in our FY24 budget binder. The reason that I am showing you this is because this is that sweet spot in the year where we are actually working in two different binders at the same time. We're going to be closing out the FY24 budget because it still goes through September 30th of this year. And we're going to make that plan for FY25, that solid budget, because that's going to start October 1. So we're going to be functioning in those simultaneously. So in looking at your FY24 binder, this is just a sample. You're just going to make sure, principals and bookkeepers, that you are keeping an eye on that budget at a glance. This platform is only as good as the information that you put into it. I know I'm not the first to say that in this presentation, but again, we want to make sure that we reiterate that because it's extremely important. We understand that there may be some discrepancies because of the fact that we have that new ERP system, Oracle. So there may be some differences in what you see here as opposed to there. And of course, we definitely are aware of that and are in the process of working through that. But we want to make this as solid as we possibly can. So again, it's important that you log the things that you're responsible for in this platform so that we can have an as up-to-date system as possible. So again, that budget at a glance is going to be where we're going to make sure that we are looking at all of our budget benchmarks, keeping track of the current spending for payroll and non-payroll. And we're also going to keep track of that current total spend. And then again, this is a breakdown of all of the different accounts that each individual school has allocated funds to. So this is the way that you're going to track in conjunction with Oracle. So again, if you see that there are any discrepancies in what you see in Oracle and what you see here in the budget binder, we definitely want to know because our accesses look a little bit different in Oracle than they did in AS400. And again, we're aware of that and we're attempting to work through that process for FY24. But what I can say is that hopefully in FY25, when everything drops, there will be like more balance and cohesion with Oracle and our FY25 budget. So bear with us as we continue to work through the discrepancies that are there. So that is all that I'm going to say about FY24. Just making sure that we're finishing strong. You still have to make sure that funds that were allocated through your original budget and possibly carryover, that those things are spent. We have to make sure that we're spending 85% of that budget. So spend, spend, spend. Make sure that you monitor as well and get in contact with either if it's a payroll issue with Mercedes or if any concerns as far as requisitions with Keisha. They'll be able to help you through those things so that we can make sure that we are expending the funds properly and as close to complete as possible. Because again, the goal is to get to spending at least 85% of that total budget. So The next thing, while we're talking about budget, when I think about this, they go hand in hand, budget and the CSIP. So we have our school-wide planning checklist and the annual evaluation, and they look completely separate, but they are not. They are, they work in conjunction with one another. You can't have one without the other. So both of these documents are included in your CSIPs. So every school has access to their own checklist as well as the annual evaluation. So I'm going to click on my mock CSIP link and just show you where you're able to locate those different documents. So if you go to your Title I Annual Evaluation tab within your CSIP principles, you will be able to see that we have logged all of the resources that you allocated funds to in your Title I budget for FY24. It is extremely important that you know that this Title I annual evaluation is not something that you do at the end and just leave it. You do it at the end of FY24 to plan for FY25. So we're in that planning process right now. That planning period is happening as we speak. So when you complete this form should be used to inform what you're going to purchase for next school year. So let's utilize this one for an example. So just say you have 2 teachers. You're going to answer all of these different questions here as it relates to that teacher, those teachers as resources. So you're going to talk about what achievement data you examined. You're going to talk about the effectiveness of that position. You're also going to talk about the next steps that you're going to consider. And then ultimately, based on those reflections, you're going to say whether or not the gap has been eliminated, whether it's you're going to maintain that strategy, whether you're going to make an adjustment, or whether you're going to, abandon it or adjust it. So let's give an example. If you had a teacher, 2 teachers, you went through and you said that maybe, we didn't utilize those teachers effectively. Maybe instead of 2 teachers, we may have 1 teacher, and I will I'll buy additional resources, such as supplies with the funds that I was going to utilize for that teacher, or I will utilize that for parent and family engagement in some way. So you could actually say that you're going to put all that data in there, and then you're going to say that you're going to you're going to maintain the strategy, but you're going to adjust the activity. So instead of 2 teachers, you plan to get 1. So this is going to be used to gauge how you move forward with your Title I funding for the upcoming school year. And so also with all of that, when you're creating your plan, we also want to make sure that you have that state checklist to ensure that every component that is required by the state for each Title I program, that you have met that as a part of your CSIP. So if you see here at the top, every Title I annual evaluation tab has this checklist here at the top. So if you click on the checklist, you're going to get this form. This is the checklist that comes directly from the state, which when we look at your CSIPs, we utilize this to make sure that every component that the state requires is included in your CSIP. So it would be in your best interest if while planning your CSIP, you have this checklist available as well to make sure that you are meeting the components that are necessary for your plan. So what we did is we took the components, the descriptions, and we placed them here. And then we located possible places within your plan, within your CSIP, where you could possibly fit these different components in. Not to say that these are the only places that they would go, But these are just some suggested places that we might look for them. So again, we went in and, made sure that we put those suggestions in for you. But again, they're not set in stone. The only thing that I want to make sure that I mention, because this is one that is frequently missed, is the assurances tab. On the assurances tab, please make sure that you are answering all of these, meeting all of these requirements. On the assurances tab, they're going to ask you about whether the plan is jointly developed, how it's the parent-family engagement plan is developed. It'll ask you about where it's located. It'll ask you all of those different things, and it is completely necessary that that assurances tab is completed in its entirety. A copy of this, a link to it, is also on the assurances tab. So we wanted to make sure that you have it available to you on every tab that is necessary for it to be completed. So please, please, please make sure that if you have any questions as it relates to the necessary components for completion of your CSIP for Title I, if you have any questions or concerns about that, please make sure that you reach out to either myself or Mr. Smallwood, and we will be happy to attend your meetings to walk you through making sure that those things are included. So now I did talk to you briefly about that FY25 binder. So here we are. So let's talk briefly about the binder. There have not been very many changes. It looks exactly the same as it did before. The budget at a glance is exactly the same as it was before as well. What we do want to make sure that we stress this year is the use of the budget description stems. That is something that is necessary this year, as we want to ensure that we are including the consistent information into the consolidated application for the state to review. So this year, the budget stems have been revised so that you will utilize them. And now, instead of them being optional, they are necessary. So I'm going to go through and give you an example of what the budget stems should look like in your investment opportunities. So when planning your budget, here are your investment opportunities. These are the things that are in your CSIP that you said, okay, I am going to purchase this thing for this purpose, and it's outlined here in my CSIP. So let's start by saying we're going to have an instructional lead teacher. All right, and so I'm going to go to the budget stems, and because I know that an instructional lead teacher is that $22,191, I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to paste that there. That is the stem that goes in here for that particular position. I'm going to make sure that I designate what it's for, if it's math, literacy, science, social studies, whatever, and then the salary would be placed in there. And then for a total of whatever that salary is, we'll go here at the end. So we're going to say, we'll say 90,000. And we're also going to say, all right, so that is what that'll look like. And so we're going to say $90,000 here. I'm going to give this a whole bunch of money there. And we would love to have that much money. And so what will happen is in your preliminary budget, in your binders, you will already see that preliminary amount there. We will change that to final once we get word from the state what the final budgets are. When you put in an amount, it is automatically, once this box is checked, it'll subtract from there. You're going to say that this is for instruction, for professional development. And then you're going to say that it is 2213-191. And then you're going to tell us the location in the plan. So if you put that in your plan under your 90-day plan, and you put it in cell A24, and then right here we see that it is already evidence that it is strong, because some of them have that there. You put strong and then whatever metric you're going to use. So we'll say map growth data. That is what a complete line would look like in your budget binder as it relates to how you're going to allocate the funds for your original budget. Again, we will walk you through that, but what I wanted to stress, of course, with this is that the budget stems are necessary, and there's no way outside of that. We're going to make sure that there's consistency when that is submitted to the state. Also, as Ms. Hendricks mentioned earlier, here are the budget, here is the chart of accounts where you'll be able to see where what is paid out of what account. And we have that for you. And if you want the long version, here is the link to that as well. So here's some additional things to consider. Bookkeepers, please, if you could, start getting quotes. Right now, I know it's a little far out, so I would just suggest that you get 6-month quotes to make sure that they're still within the right amount of time when the FY25 budget opens. Please make sure that you review your chart of accounts to make sure that you are placing your request for specific allocations from the right account for the right items. The benchmark dates, please make sure you keep track of those FY25 benchmarks. They will be placed in your binders. They're not there yet because they have not been determined yet, but please pay close attention to those dates because we will adhere to them very closely in FY25. Make sure that you are abreast of the period of performance. You're not making purchases of things for students that are not going to be sitting in front of you. So for example, if you are purchasing software, you cannot purchase software from January 2025 to January 2026 because those students that are currently sitting in your building that are in, just say, 5th grade won't be able to utilize that. So you have to make sure that we're purchasing things for the students that are actually sitting in front of us, in front of you. The maximum amount of funds that can be allocated for furniture is 5% flat. And that's only from the original budget. We do not purchase any furniture out of carryover. So 5% of your budget is the maximum. Make sure that you're going through the digital approval process when it comes to your purchases of digital resources. We cannot move forward unless we have that digital approval. What we are asking is once you get your digital approval, because there is a little lag in getting things on the repository, if you could forward that information, the contract or whatever it is that you get from the digital approval department or whomever that comes from, if you could send that over to us, we would greatly appreciate that so that we are abreast of the fact that you are going to be asking for software through your Title I funds. So again, either send that to myself, Mr. Smallwood, or Ms. Hendricks, or all three of us, just to make sure that we have that, because we don't want to have anything like that fall through the cracks or deny a requisition because we don't see it in the repository. And finally, please make sure that you follow the travel policies of the district when it comes to requesting travel. We pay for registrations up front, but we do not, we only reimburse for the remainder of the trip. But you have to make sure that you're following the district's policies as it relates to per diem, for hotels, vehicle rentals, whatever that per diem is, in that specific state or town, you have to follow what the district has outlined, because we cannot supersede what the district has set into place. So make sure that you're following the district's policies for travel. And finally, here are our next steps. We're asking for your preliminary budget to be submitted to our office by July 12th. And that is that investment opportunities tab with those specific locations in your CSIP. So we just need to have that submitted to us, done by July 12th. If you need assistance, please contact either myself or Mr. Smallwood. We would love to come out to be a part of your planning process and to ensure that your CSIPs are inclusive of all the components necessary for the state. So please invite us to that meeting. And we also want to be able to ensure that there is complete alignment between what you are budgeting for and what is in your CSIP. So again, we want to be there to support you through this process. And as Mr. Blevins provided earlier, here is the listing of all of the team members that are here to support you in the Title I department, along with our emails and extensions. Again, we are here to make sure that all the components are met, and I'm here to support you through making sure that that is a seamless process. And finally, here is our information regarding Thought Partner Thursday. Our Title I School Improvement Specialist Thought Partner Thursdays for principals are held every third Thursday of the month. We have two sessions, one from 8:30 to 9:30 and the second from 3 to 4 p.m. That information is on the Title I Toolkit in the professional development calendar, but we will be sending out reminders that come out the day before the event, so that you will be able to make plans to attend the drop-in sessions.
And in an effort to help you with your Title I program, my team and I want to make ourselves available to you. Therefore, we will have drop-in support hours. These hours are Thursday, January 27th, 2024, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And we will have another section Wednesday, July 10th, 2024, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. The goal is to provide you 2 days and 2 different times. So you have an AM and a PM section. So if you need help, please drop in and we'll be here. And also, just to make sure that we'll continue to support you with what you're doing in your schools, we want you to provide us feedback. So please scan this QR code for us and provide us with feedback. We take it, we look at it as a team, and we make the necessary adjustments, because we want to make sure that you can have the impact that you need to have for your school, for your students. So we thank you so much for taking the time to provide this feedback, as it will help us with future planning.